Yeah.
All right, so we have a quorum and it's 6 o'clock, so I'll start and we may have others joining us. I'll call the roll call here. Kevin?
Here.
I'm here. Adam's not here yet. Margaret?
You gotta get off mute, Margaret.
She's on mute.
Yeah.
Margaret, can you declare yourself present?
Put it in the
You
chat.
still have 5, so you're okay. Yeah.
We'll come back to Margaret. Kelsey?
Here.
Anna?
Here.
And Tim.
Here.
Thank you. And it appears that we have, after the meeting minutes. I will skip that one. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Citizens' comments, I don't see anyone online or in. Okay, my report is thank you for everyone who helped with Pride. And we can hear more about that when we come to that on the agenda. And hopefully Adam will be here in a few minutes and we can mark his this last meeting of his, so we'll come back to that when he arrives. Any questions for me? That's all I have. Great.
You were fast.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
It's all later in the agenda.
You missed us later at last week. We did a whole 24 minutes last week. Wow, it's a record. Well, we're not going to start
I
at
want to
10.
commend
Yeah,
Ann in your
pretty close to
absence.
10 minutes.
24-minute meeting breaks a new record.
Laura pointed out we started 10 minutes late. Waiting for our
So it
quorum,
was
that was the 10-minute
even quicker.
meeting.
14.
Wow. Okay, let's see. I don't have anything great to report, but one thing I thought I'd bring up tonight, because most of you probably, I don't know how many of you realize this or how many of you don't, but all the action at commission meetings really happens in the discussion session. The commission meeting itself is pretty much already laid out. It's all stuff that we've approved ahead of time, like, you know, we're buying a car for the police chief, which we already approved in the budget way back in November, December. But the discussion about what kind of car it is, like is it gonna be electric or is it gonna be gas, is happening in the discussion session. So if you ever really wanna know what's going on, go to the discussion sessions. That's my hint. That's where the bacon gets cooked, should we say? Is that the way to do it? I know that we're gonna be discussing Airbnbs at an upcoming discussion session. That is one of my concerns about what it does to a neighborhood. It doesn't seem to be that big of a problem yet, but I'm in favor of getting things before they become a problem. So I don't know whether we'll enact anything or not. And ongoing is traffic calming for all of you that understand we're trying to slow down traffic. We're continuing to do so at great expense, but hopefully we won't have any other horrible things happen because people are speeding too much. So putting in traffic bumps, et cetera, hoping the school district someday is gonna wanna help
Yeah.
with their vast stores of money.
Hey, we ended up with a surplus.
No, yeah, and I didn't mean that.
I know.
I
It's all
really,
good.
I'm very worried about what's going on nationally, and I'm
Yes.
watching funds being withdrawn from these things, and that's what prompted my statement, not that the school district is doing anything but what they should be doing about,
It's all good.
trying to do things. So, yeah, go ahead.
Do we have a law, I don't even know if it's even legal, but have you ever guys talked about corporations buying housing versus people buying housing? Is that a problem in Mount Lebanon? No?
I don't think so, I don't think it is, no, not at this point. But with Airbnbs, my youngest spent quite a bit of time in Somerset, Mass. And one of the things that was happening was Airbnbs didn't have to pay any taxes on their hotels, essentially. And so hotel chains were coming in and declaring the chain an Airbnb to avoid paying taxes. Well, I mean, it costs money to have fire departments and police departments and maintain roads and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Why should it go to just the citizens and not other people, other companies that are here?
So I have two questions. There
Yeah.
are some people that are already saying that they're Airbnbs, someone in my
Right.
neighborhood.
Yes.
rented.
Yeah,
But our HOA 2 years ago decided we were not gonna allow anyone in
Good.
the HOA. So
Okay.
so my question is, if the township would say yay, does that supersede our HOA's covenant?
no, because right now Airbnbs are legal. We don't,
Okay.
what this would do, what I would hope we would do, and again, we haven't discussed it, so nothing is out there, would be to put some parameters around Airbnbs. That would be really what we would do. No, you're an HOA, you can do
So,
what you
and the
want.
second question is, they were at the Pride, but I've seen on Shady, there's that little sign that says, it's Move Lebo, but it says 20 is plenty.
Oh, yeah.
So my next question, this may be better for, yay, here, the police chief, but there are, in our neighborhood, sign that says 25 and everybody flies up the hill at 45. And we
of
were,
course.
RHA was saying, we were gonna put those out. And then we were going to fine anybody, but I don't think we
I can answer that question
No.
because I went to the mobility board meeting
Yeah.
2 months ago. The residential speed limit is 25 miles per hour.
Right.
And
State
some
law.
people on the mobility board said, well, can't we make ours lower? I've seen signs for 15. And they said, that is illegal, only in the school zones can you do that. And if you do that, you can then make the basis so that nobody, you can't find anybody for a speed because you have an illegal speed limit. So somebody could go 85 there and they would declare that your
Right.
speed limit is invalid. So that's what Jason told me.
You can't go above state law, and state law is 25 miles per hour in a residential zone.
So you could certainly suggest it, so if that's
Yeah,
what they're
yeah,
trying-
yeah. Oh, no, I think that-
We like the signs and we were
I
gonna
do
just
too,
put
yeah.
them there.
Yeah.
At the entrance and see.
I think reminding people that there are little people in the world who, can run out into a street, or even big people who sometimes have their head in the clouds, is really a good thing to do. So I have no problems with it. Yeah.
The other comment I was gonna make was
Yeah.
that, and I know this was in the Mount Lebanon magazine, I don't know what else we could do about it, honestly. I mean, I almost killed 2 people already riding on those e-bucks. They go down a hill, they're going like 40 miles an hour down the hill, they can't stop and they just shoot right into the intersection. And like,
Right at the bottom of Fort Couch.
I would say I almost killed them, that's exaggeration, but,
Yeah, you
if
came
I was
close.
if I was
Right.
20 yards ahead of where I was, I might have hit him, because I don't know how I would have stopped. You don't see them coming, they're coming down the hill at 40
Right.
miles an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything, I don't know what I honestly don't know what we could do, but you
You
had
called
have any
911 after you
conversation
saw
about it?
that, right? And said there's a hazard. You called 911 after you saw that and said there's a hazard, right? I mean, that's what you can do.
That's what you do. Yeah. And I think it's important. I'm really worried about these kids on scooters without
That's what I mean,
helmets and.
scooters, yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Zoom in
scooters,
on.
not e-bikes, yeah, those scooters flying down the hills.
I've been surprised I haven't seen it happen yet, the electric scooters, like, because they're
Yeah.
everywhere in
I
the
know,
city.
I know. And with middle schoolers. Now, I love my children when they were middle schoolers, but they were really middle schoolers. It's like they put their brain over here on a radiator and say, just stay over there for a couple of years. I don't know who would give their kid one, but then I'm not under that pressure now. It's easy to say, I would never
I
do
mean, could
that.
we license them so the kid at least, so we know who it was?
They're
Vehicle
pervasive
code.
in the manner.
Yeah, vehicle code.
It's like, yeah, some kid's gonna get killed.
Well, they're not, I mean, nobody's allowed to drive a motorized vehicle in the street until they're 16. So
That's
if
right.
And you're not allowed to have any type of bike, skateboard, anything, motor or not, in the central business district. So that's
Right.
also a call to 911.
Yeah.
And there's signs up everywhere.
Streets, yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows, they could have
Yeah.
been 16 or 17, you can't tell when they're zipping by you.
I yell at people too.
Yeah.
'Cause that's well received.
What are you thinking?
Exactly, yeah. Any other questions? Well, guys are going easy on me.
Well, I'll ask another question.
Sure.
We haven't seen you for a while. So obviously, with all these storms and outages,
Yeah.
it's been a big topic and
Oh, yeah.
local Facebook groups and all that.
Mhm.
But I've talked to Andrew about it a couple times offline. But should we have like a open meeting about it or something? I mean, so people could come and they could hear the facts, like that
I don't
it costs a
know.
lot of money and this is how much
Yeah.
we think it's gonna cost and this is how long it would take and this is why it's hard and so people could hear what's going.
You mean about
You mean
storm
about
damage?
burying the
lines,
lines,
yeah.
burying the lines. You know, I wanna make
Each
one,
portion of the commissioners meeting?
Yeah,
I don't know. what we
yeah.
should- But should we?
I mean, the discussion has been that whenever we take a street down to a base, that we begin to bury the lines then, because then the street's dug up, it's expensive, but it's not impossible. But I wanna add one word of caution. My daughter and her partner live out in South Fayette, all the lines are buried, and they have lost their power more than we have. Because there are transmission lines that are above ground in other parts of the county, which take power to them, and those go out. And we just had that do you remember when they closed Washington Road the other day? That transformer was underground, and it blew.
But
But
flooding,
I think that's a good
Flooded.
point.
I'm
that's
sorry.
the issue,
It
is
flooded,
that we
yeah.
have to get the water out of the conduits. So that tends to be,
I thought it blew too.
But
I'm glad you're here.
I still think, I mean, if you look
Yeah.
at the storms, right? You can walk in your neighborhood and see a lot of the outage was because a tree fell on
Well,
your line. So
sure,
It's gonna
and,
be better, but
yeah,
people think, a lot of people, and I know we can't react to every Facebook post, I get
Yeah.
that. But people, think, boy, how stupid we are, we should just bury all the lines. And like, some kind of discussion about that where they say, it's gonna cost $1 million, it's gonna cost every one of your households $10,000.
$87 million.
Yeah, whatever the number is.
yeah,
So it's gonna cost every household X amount of money, and
yeah.
blah, 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 and this is what, I don't know if it's a good idea or not, honestly, and I'm just bringing it up and saying, is it a good idea? You guys can decide if it is or not, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Seems
just
to be
up to
a
the
hot
commission,
topic.
if the commission funds it, it happens. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
87 million might be a
I'm not
little
saying,
tough on the
no, not good or
budget.
bad to have, to do it,
Yeah.
I'm saying good or bad to have a discussion about it, so people can
Sure,
come and have
yeah.
a discussion, people are concerned about it, should we,
Sure.
as, the Civic Engagement Board say, hey, you guys are complaining about this, let's have a discussion about this, so you can understand.
Yeah,
So I throw that open for everybody's opinion.
So it would be interesting if we used ourselves as a forum for that sort of thing. I don't know if it's, to what extent that's needed in the
right.
municipality.
No, I don't know, yeah.
So,
I think in general, that brings up a larger point, Kevin, of just of how this group has hosts any sort of bigger picture conversation. That is there
Yeah.
a mechanism for us for doing that? And then if we have a mechanism for doing it, then we can just decide what the topics are and kind of thing. But without, at least that's what I have found this far, is that without this said mechanism for doing it, it's kind of hard to get it to happen.
I'd love to hear thoughts about it, and this is gonna sound like a segue, I don't mean it that way, but I had an incident today where somebody in Ward 3 posted a sign in the yard, it's a lie. I'm just gonna say it. Done with falsehoods and misinformation, it's a lie. And there's no way for me to counter that easily. And I wonder if this could be a way to start countering some of the rumors that fly around and the information that's out there that isn't true. I don't know.
Especially for things we can control, right?
Yeah,
I don't know
we
what that
can't.
sign is, like an idea that was on that sign we probably can't control. But this.
Yeah, we can't,
This is a
right.
conscious decision we're gonna
Right.
make in our community, and
Right,
I don't think people understand that it's gonna cost $87 million and that, if we take a bond, it's $5,000, whatever the number is a year, and it might hurt our credit, I don't know all the facts.
This is what the assessment would be for that.
but, so I guess, how large is the conversation about burying lines? I mean, I sort of right after it, I heard it batted about, but
Yeah.
sort of went away.
It's hard to say. I mean, it was a big topic on some of the,
Yeah,
local
yeah.
Facebook groups, but in 2 months, will anybody care? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we're gonna not I mean, we're gonna keep getting global warming, we're changing, we're gonna keep getting storms. I mean, I live in a neighborhood that already has it buried, so it's less of an issue. The biggest issue is the trees that the township planted that are not, lifting up the sidewalks. But that said, when the transformer went down, we lost electric like everybody else.
And you're on a private street, so
Yeah.
we wouldn't have planted those, that would have been the developer.
The developer would have planted.
So, hard to say, but
Yeah, but
I
kind
don't
of
think
like
it's gonna go away,
pasture.
because there's gonna be another storm, and there's gonna be another outage, and
There's gonna be more and more
stuff.
storms.
Well, our engineer has said that. I mean, they had what they used to call the 100-year storm and the 10-year storm, and it was all, actuarial data, and we've already had how many?
Or your
Yeah.
article in the magazine, your intro to it too, I thought addressed it very nicely. But I think Kevin has a point, it could be a good conversation. And then if no one comes or very few people come, we've at least made an effort.
Well, you could do it on Zoom, you don't have to
Yeah.
make it in person.
I mean, here, this is my reticence about that. Doing that well means you're asking a number of people to prep, prepare,
Right,
make themselves available, and if there's not a real need, that's kind of been a waste. And you've asked, staff, Duquesne Power, people to sort of put a lot into that. And we don't want to do something that we don't do well. You don't want to sort of like, let's just have a conversation and, some of us read some blog posts and we'll chat about it. I mean, so we don't want to do that either.
Agree totally, so.
What if there's a way to have the meeting contingent on X number of signups to encourage people to actually want, and like, if you don't have 50 signups, recognizing there's gonna be an attrition rate of probably at least 50% of people who sign up versus attend.
I mean, the easiest thing to do is make it an agenda item in your meeting that you're already having.
That was my thinking, was like,
And
what
then we
avenues do we
publicize it,
already
we
have?
push it out ahead of time, saying at the CEB meeting this month, they will be discussing blah, 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 blah. It's on the agenda, we push it out.
And then the recording exists and all of those
Yeah,
channels exist,
yeah.
and then a follow-up podcast could come from that.
Because if you do other meetings, you have to duly advertise them, and I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of, and just like you had the police chief here, you could have somebody from Public Works come in and address it
and
as
talk
well.
about it, yeah.
And who would be able to address would that be Andrew or you, Laura, that would be able to say, it's 87 million?
Oh, we would have our Public Works director.
Okay.
Yeah,
he would do that.
Rudy, yep.
Well, I think you would, if you're gonna do something like that, you just expand it
Yeah.
to be all about, storm proofing.
Right.
And not just that, talking about, hey, what do you've gotta do as a resident to keep the streets clear, your little part clear so things don't back up, going into the sewers and.
And maybe all those chimes that you have hanging outside your window when the storm is coming, you take them down so they don't break your window.
Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds like a personal experience.
Yes,
Like
our
you said,
neighbor did that.
Do people care enough to make people go through all that work? I don't know.
Well, some of it is institutional knowledge. I mean, I agree that the prepping thing is important, but some of it is knowledge that already exists to a great extent.
And when do the resident academy signups go out?
They go out, well, the sign up is it gets in September?
In October, we'll call the people on the waiting list, and then we start pushing it online in September, and it's in the November magazine is the one that we.
Because I'm just
it's
thinking
usually
like,
filled.
if we asked the director of public works to come in September, and then you have the recorded materials and we have the things and you can push it out and then say, and if you're interested in more workings. I mean, I know the Residence Academy is
yeah.
always overflowing
Right.
with interest, but I
Yeah.
think it's a great way to connect back to the really good existing programs that already
That's a good
happen.
idea.
Yeah.
We'll start scheduling the academy right after Labor Day, so that'll be set up
Yeah.
before they
Right.
call for people.
And then, I mean, we won't be thinking about winter in September, but
That's right.
certainly like storm damage happens all year long, right? So it can be more comprehensive discussion. Yeah, my preference is always to go through the channels that exist and invite people into these public spaces.
Yeah,
Okay,
great.
so do we want to do this?
I say yes. I like your suggestion of the September meeting as
can we invite the Public Works
Yeah,
Director
I
and
think-
then go from there, see who's available?
And make it an agenda item.
Yeah.
Make an agenda item, and then I think getting clear on what we're doing, or if we're doing, let's just talk about storm response. We can do that. If we want to do storm preparedness, we need to, make sure we've got the right knowledge in the municipality. I mean, I know that there's someone from the fire department is our emergency
Kurt.
management, so.
Actually, I was gonna say, I think we should have Kurt with Rudy about burying lines, et cetera. I think that 9/11
Either
went
Kurt or
down
Dan
during
Morris
the
is the
storm.
emergency.
Yeah, and how comfortable do you think the public works person is?
Oh, I think he's
discussing
all the
happy.
time.
We'll
He
talk
does it
about
all the
blah,
time,
blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
And we
No,
could
he's
publish
good.
it as it's an initial meeting
Yeah.
to discuss some of this, and we could have follow-up meetings.
So if we
based on-
agree to do that, would we put that in the magazine that we're doing that?
Mhm. Yeah,
I mean, we would need to get his commitment soon because our September magazine is
Yeah, we gotta
is
get the
wrapping
word
up. But I mean, we have a million other ways to get it out too.
Okay.
I'm not
Yeah.
too concerned about that.
yeah.
Okay, who would like to take the lead?
I guess it's my idea, so I guess I'll take the lead.
Who would like to work with Kevin? I'll work with Kevin. Okay, Kevin did.
So I'll wait to hear back from you about
Yeah,
whether
Rudy.
you're interested, and then
Yeah.
we can maybe just make sure we have an agenda with them and
Mm-hmm.
all that.
Well, and I think linking it back to the civic engagement purpose, right? Like, it's not the infrastructure board, or I know it
Right.
has a different
Right.
name now, but like,
Right.
like, we wanna be able to correct misinformation that's out there, whether it's on a legal
Right.
complaints group or whatnot.
On a sign.
And,
Or a
or a
sign.
sign, but B, like, I think Lebo's really great at being neighborly, right? So if it's thinking about like, yeah, to clear your neighbor who can't shovel to help clear their sidewalk, but do you know that you can collect sticks and that helps with stormwater runoff? Or like really kind of connecting it back to like what I think we do really well as residents of Mount Lebanon to bring it to our purpose, right? So that we don't start mission creeping.
Like it, wow. Great.
One thing I was thinking, just as a side point about this, when I said, Andrew, told me how much this would cost, and I did the math in my head on a bond and blah, 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 I thought, it would be cheaper to just go buy every resident a generator. Like, it wouldn't even be close. It's like, you get a generator, you get a generator, you get a generator.
Yeah, we don't have the borrowing capacity
Well,
for
and then
87
there's the
million.
other, the
It's gonna cost-
scheduling is the other thing. So, I mean, everybody knows what's been going on with the gas line replacement down
Oh,
in the
God, awful.
Fourth Ward. When the street is open like that for an extended period of time, then you have that to deal with as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
speaking as somebody
Yeah.
whose street has been open since March for a gas
I
line.
think one of the points for me was, if this is gonna cost you $10,000 a household, I don't know what the number is, but I'll be interested.
yeah, sure,
You could go buy a generator for $1,000, if you're that concerned about it.
right. Yeah, there are lots of interesting subjects that could,
I also think when reaching out to Public Works, it's probably worth saying, like, rather than us purely setting the agenda, we're asking them, like, what questions
Sure.
are you guys getting, so that
Yeah,
they can be
yeah.
responsive.
Yeah, once we get that
Or
lined up,
what
okay,
information
have a
do they
conversation
think
with
that it'd be very useful for residents to know and to be prepared for?
Mhm.
So,
So once you get the okay, if you could just pass it on, so Pat, let me have a conversation, set up a conversation with them.
sure,
Yeah, we could either do it together
Yeah,
or set a
together.
Zoom up or.
Yeah,
grand.
excellent.
great, okay.
I'm running out of questions. Ann.
Thanks
That was-
for the ideas.
Welcome back to the
He was bound to determine it wasn't gonna be a 14-minute meeting.
Yeah. We still have these things, so it's gonna get long. So I'm gonna circle back now, Adam's here. Adam, we wanna present you with this certificate of appreciation for your years in service. And your work on the ad hoc DEI committee before here as well, so thank you. I know that, you can always come back at some point.
I hope you hang it on the fridge, just next to Charlie's artwork.
Yes, next to the artwork.
Thank you all, as I said last week, and to anybody who wasn't here last week, or last month, it's been a real pleasure to work and learn with everybody, so I look forward to volunteering in the capacity and serving on future boards perhaps, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna be here for a while still.
yeah, you got little ones.
Yes, too many. If anybody wants one of those.
Let me know we're recording the meeting.
They need to know, yeah.
We only keep it for 3 years, so by the time they're old enough to wanna watch it, it'll be.
Yeah. Little kids are a challenge. It's a lot of work. Sort of teenagers, but then they grow up and they're gone.
Oh,
But they sometimes come back.
I was gonna say, are they gone?
Yeah.
Mine didn't get that memo.
All right, staff liaison report.
Just real quick, because I know we want to get moving here, some community events that are coming up that we would love you to encourage your friends, your family, again, we'd love to have underrepresented groups attend these things. So 4th of July is 4th of July. It starts at Mount Lebanon Park at noon. There's games and petting zoo and all sorts of fun stuff all day. And then at 7:30, there's a concert in the park with the Delaney's, followed by the fireworks around 9:30-ish. The rain date for just the concert and the fireworks is the next day. Everything looks good. And then Sunday is the police department car show. Again, it's another example of police engagement when things are calm and mellow, and most of the police don't wear their uniforms. They wear polos, they get down on their hands and knees, they talk to kids, they do drone demonstrations, they really talk to them, so that's a good opportunity. Again, that is 9 to 3. It's free to get in. It's all on Washington Road, so that's fun. And then we have changed our first Fridays. Our Economic Development Office and the Mount Lebanon Partnership go together on this event. It's now the final Fridays of June, July, and August. So we just had the first one last week. It was great. There was a reggae band. And then the end of July, it's
25th.
Yeah, the end of July, it's the YEP Neighborhood Concert Series. So they are bringing in a bunch of very cool bands for that one. And then for the August one, it will be Fungus, which is always huge. They're a Grateful Dead style band. I'm not supposed to say cover band, but they're fantastic. So they bring their own fans as well. So it's always good. So again, all these things are on the website. They're in the magazine. They're Lebo alerts. But again, the more people we can get engaged in our community, the more welcoming we'll be.
And then you mentioned in an email about Memorial Day and this, a request of this committee being involved in Memorial Day.
Yeah, we didn't have a single volunteer. It was very hard. So the Memorial Day committee put out a, God, I can't remember what it's called, not the share, the signups where you sign up to volunteer. And they were real specific what they needed. They needed people to march with banners, and we just didn't get any participation. So we kind of had our hot wash, which is what we do after an event, and Dan Miller's really hoping to have this event continue next year. So I don't know what is your thought for next year, but if there's any way that we can, again, either help promote people to sign up for it. The sense that I'm getting is that everybody wants the parade to continue, but that everybody has plans that go beyond, like they would go to the parade, but just to report there at 9 o'clock, start lining people up and be there, potentially through the rest of the day would be difficult. We did have a great attendance this year with Rocky. We got great media coverage. Apparently the ceremony afterwards in the mausoleum was really moving. I wasn't there because I was doing ours. We have a municipal event, but I heard good things. So that was just something to keep in your minds for next year, if there's something that you think would help make that more attractive to younger people, because it's a 91-year-old parade and nobody wants to see it go away.
Yeah, we tried to, we publicized a little bit on Martin Luther King Day, but not as much as we could have. I think we probably did a little better
I just
job
think
there.
of like scouts, or
Scouts.
school, people that are looking for those opportunities.
Yeah.
Maybe we can ask our school board.
The head of the parade is a scoutmaster.
He is, yeah.
Brian.
Yeah, there's a lot, I mean, having
Scouts.
scouts. It's a very scout-heavy event, and also,
Okay. Just trying to think of existing.
Yeah, and they let the activities director know for the kids who wanted credit, but it was just, they talked about talking.
So is there a way of, I'm just bouncing an idea out of, everyone at college applications has to show that they have some volunteerism community.
Yeah,
Can we
yeah.
make them junior marshals or something where there's recognition if they show up and,
Help.
Well, marshals were some of the volunteer positions that were open,
okay.
and yeah, I don't know how they And they sold advertising to help fund it, but they needed people to carry the banners to push the advertising out. So that was kind of a double. So anyway, everything went great. It just, I'm sure they would appreciate your thoughts for next year.
Yeah, used to be the Legion and the VFW, but those have really fallen by the wayside. Very much so.
Gen Z are not joiners in the same way.
No, yeah, and we do have veterans, but.
But, I mean, veterans organizations no longer see new veterans joining them in the way that
They used to,
they
yeah,
used to, so.
yep,
Which is,
Less
this is
numbers.
a 30-year,
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
trend, so.
exactly, yeah.
Wondering to copy with in the lead up to it, the other spot to promote volunteering. Just, I'm guessing that maybe some people who would attend would be interested.
All right, I'm gonna go through subcommittee reports here. You can save, so police engagement, Terry's not here. I don't think there's anything to report there. Mediations, I don't think there's anything new, unless Margaret has something. Kevin, you're planning on,
Yeah, I just had one issue I worked on this past month, and I just want to say that I thought that the municipal employees who I spoke with about these issues were very helpful and were very on top of things. So that was great to hear it. The conflict resolved much more easily. So kudos to our municipal employees.
great.
That's all I have.
And then you're planning on.
I signed up for the class,
You
yeah.
haven't signed up for the
Laura
class.
got me in.
Good.
Appreciate that. Great.
Oh, good,
And,
Good.
you know, it would be great eventually to be at least 2 deep.
Yeah,
So,
well,
so we should still continue.
future report about that.
Yeah.
If I can jump
Yeah.
ahead, is I think one of the topics last month was about, wow, we could get a lawyer on the board. So
lawyer,
I mentioned one of my neighbors
Mhm.
who I met when I was canvassing as a lawyer, and he said when I was talking to him, I want to get more involved in the community involvement. So I did talk to him, Jonathan Fidi, somebody know,
Jonathan, what's his last name?
Fidi, F-I-D-I, and he said he was interested. So I didn't know I don't know if we're gonna talk about that tonight, but what are we gonna do about Adam's position? Then we know we're gonna have
I
99%,
think the
like
application's
99%.
available.
Yeah, well, the application's available, yes, so he can go in
It's already
and,
online?
yep.
Okay.
And we have some applications from the last go-around, which we'll consider, but we're gonna go ahead and post for new applications as well, so encourage him.
Okay.
Tell him
So it's
to-
already on
And
there.
to say that
It's
he's
rolling.
interested.
I mean, we keep them on file
Oh,
for 2
okay.
years
Yeah.
because we never know if somebody's gonna
Okay,
leave,
so.
so.
Right.
Just go online and
Yeah,
fill it out.
go online.
Later, so.
And mention that he wants to do arbitration.
Yeah. So have him apply, and then when he's applied, have him tell you and you can pass.
Yeah.
the-
Yeah.
I mean, he's my neighbor, I won't say I know him well, I just.
Yeah,
when I was
it's all right.
canvassing him, just
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
nobody else knows him, I guess.
I was looking at them today, so tell him to get it in.
All right, so let's look at the, so DEI, let's look at the holiday and event proposal. So to remind you, the history here is that we were asked to do a recommendation based on the holidays and events. We produced a recommendation, which is here. And then later, through conversation, we were asked to produce a policy that possibly then our recommendation could be the first iteration of our recommendation based on the policy. So we were given a sample draft policy by Andrew Flynn, who sort of generated it with ChatGPT and other things. Kevin, DEI committee met, we discussed it, Kevin went and edited it, we have the edit here. That's where we got what we have here. And so what we want to discuss is the policy here, and then eventually, do we want to change our recommendation? I have a secondary question at some point, I'll just ask the commissioner now, is that I am concerned about our holiday display this year.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if this takes more time for us to do this right, we still need to get that one settled
The
before.
holiday display this year will include a menorah
Okay,
and whatever is appropriate for Kwanzaa.
okay.
Okay.
And
Sponsored by us.
and we don't need to help with that in any way, or, I mean,
At the moment, I don't think so. No.
and
Yeah.
are the appropriate communities being reached out to have feedback on?
I don't know about that.
Okay, I think that's an important thing to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
That we have the Jewish community be asked for feedback on the menorah, the African American community be asked for feedback on the menorah, or other display items related to Kwanzaa. That it's not just made like a couple people sitting with a catalog.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
And
And I'm
Is
happy
there-
to help facilitate that.
yeah, no, I know.
So, yeah.
I figured that. I had your name right here. Call Noah. No problem,
is the
guys.
surround, have you all like come to agreement on like the surrounding stuff at all? Like,
No,
who
we
gives
have
us-
not.
okay.
We have not, but we have already talked with the manager that our intent is that we will have a menorah and we will have something for Kwanzaa, whatever is appropriate, and just not argue about it anymore, that it will be from us.
So we, as the town buying the menorah, because someone's
Yes.
gonna donate it, so we're not doing it, we're buying it.
Yeah, no, we're buying it.
So obviously,
Mm-hmm.
somewhat between now and then, we have to have like the details of how
Mm-hmm.
it gets lit and stuff like that, because there was a lot of
Yeah.
conversation around that, but we have time for that.
Okay.
as long as we
So,
have-
so I asked that question first. It takes time pressure off of these other things.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that part,
Yep.
which I think there's more urgency. So if we need to take time to get this right, let's go ahead and do it.
Yeah. And if I could just comment
Yeah,
on this,
yeah.
because the edit, I mean, I basically took what they started with, because I thought that'd be a good approach.
Politic, way to go.
But I stripped some stuff out of there that didn't seem like
Right.
we should recommend those things.
Yeah.
Like the Civic Engagement Board shouldn't be recommending this whole thing to you. We should be recommending something more specific. And so I tried to use what they did, but strip it down. That was my approach. I didn't try and rewrite it from scratch. I tried to
Right,
start with
yeah.
what they did. We could rewrite it from scratch if people don't like this. Just wanted to let them know, let everybody know what I did.
Okay. I'll throw it out. Questions, clarifications. There's a few typographical things.
Oh.
We get those fixed later, so.
Yes, those.
No, I just need a minute to review it. I didn't see it if you sent it ahead,
Yeah.
sorry.
So the one question I have is, under the participation guidelines, it says, regarding the Civic Engagement Board, participation must only occur under the banner of the official municipal table or display clearly representing the municipality of Mount Lebanon. By banner, do you mean we actually are getting a banner, or just banner as in under the aegis of Mount Lebanon?
Under the aegis.
Okay.
Which isn't to say we can't get a banner, but
Right.
I don't know how many of these we're gonna do, so
Okay.
I will leave that to your request for funding.
Would really like a banner. The library made us look foolish. We had nothing but our little nice tablecloth. Thanks, Dollar Tree.
People come, when the library left, people kept saying, so are you guys are alive, and started asking me
Yeah,
questions
are
about
you
the library.
They were very nice to partner with because they would shoo people over.
Yeah,
Oh, good,
I don't think we realized they weren't gonna be there as long as you were there.
yeah.
They
had
left
some
because
other-
they were concerned about the potential, what was gonna happen in the
Oh.
park. So they said they were gonna leave it
Oh,
free.
They also ran out of everything they brought, which is
Yeah.
a lovely problem.
They had
Just
great,
double that.
great swag.
But it otherwise would have been okay then.
Yeah.
I mean, they left at like 3.
Yeah, like, that's what they said they were gonna do.
Oh, it's her car. I thought that was the swimming pool.
I would make, under event and recognition proposals, I would make it clear what says proposals for new events must be submitted. You mean by the CEB. A
Right.
member of the public reading that might think proposals from third
Right.
party, you know what I mean?
And we don't have third party.
Are you taking notes on it?
Can you remind me, Anne, is there an existing policy? There's not.
There's not.
Okay.
And my only comment on this was the third-party issue, but I think once this goes through our solicitor, that's where he'll add that. And I was just gonna ask him when we submit it to him, please add whatever verbiage we need to say third parties are not not welcome, which is probably not a good way to say
I mean,
it.
do we, sorry, I can't read the full thing, but do we need to say something, or does it say to the extent of like,
Everything should go through the CEB.
community feedback as always, sort of like acknowledging that the CEB is the feedback mechanism, not inviting proposals.
I understand.
But, and maybe that's a question for our council, I don't know, but, or maybe that's just obvious because we exist.
Yeah, I don't think it's very flowery, just a proposal for new events must be submitted, we'll say, to the CEB at least 9 months in advance, so it doesn't.
No, but that's what we're saying, that's what we're
By
trying
the
to.
CEB, not to the CEB.
Proposals by the CBB.
Yeah, like we're saying that people can provide their feedback at
But they
any
can't
point, but they
submit
can't come and give us a proposal. We propose it to the
I'm not sure it
commission.
says there anyway.
Correct.
Yeah, I'll have to look, it says that someplace I can't recall.
And there's always, just for your knowledge, with any policy that we have, there's always a last paragraph that says, the commission retains the right to cancel any event at any
I
time.
wondered where that was gonna
Yeah,
go.
he'll put that in there.
Yeah.
Just because you never know what can happen, they might have to
That's
cancel
right.
it, something 1 year if they're, I don't know, it's just something
Sure.
we
Will
do.
the solicitor add that, or should I?
The solicitor will add that,
Solicitor,
yeah, and he'll make sure that
I didn't
it
send it to
matches our
solicitor
other
yet.
policies.
I
yeah.
thought you guys would want to discuss it before I sent it to them.
I think the only other thing that jumps to my mind is people with disabilities is the only named group under section 1, the third bullet point. And I understand that's probably in reference to accessibility, but I think because we're not naming any other particular groups or classes of people, my
So-
impression would be that we shouldn't just name one.
So we also could reference the commission's resolution already on the subject, which has a very extensive list.
Oh, good.
So you could say note C, blah, blah, blah.
I'm trying to, what is the magical name of that?
Right. Promotes inclusivity and accessibility for all residents as referenced in the commission
Yeah.
policy.
Okay.
R 2122,
There we go.
and the list is that long.
Yeah,
Yes.
good, just
Great.
send them
Yeah.
there.
What is it? It's referenced in,
R 2122.
of what?
It's resolution.
That's a resolution number.
R
21.
21/22.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
take out the phrase including individuals with
Yeah,
disabilities.
which is
Good catch.
race, color, ethnicity, religious
There you
creed,
go.
spiritual commitments, and practices or lack thereof, national origin, language, place of birth, citizenship, immigration status, ancestry, gender, sex, including gender identity expression or pregnancy-related medical conditions, sexual orientation, physical, intellectual, learning, or mental disability, political beliefs, medical condition or history, genetic characteristics, or family medical history, neurodiversity, age, military veteran status,
I feel like I'm in
socioeconomic
Congress.
assistance status, family or marital status, domestic violence, victim status, and all those vast diversities exist among people everywhere.
Well, you have a job as a voiceover person for pharmaceutical commercials.
Now there's a calling.
There was actually a lot of work on that paragraph.
Yes, I can only imagine you guys. So we might as well reference.
So once we've approved this policy, it goes to the solicitor.
Right.
And then it goes to the commissioners. And then the memo that we sent back in March about recommending dates, what happens to that?
It's still floating out there. I mean, some of these have been, okay, let's just, do we have any more adjustments to the policy?
If you guys see some stuff, after you have more time to read it, just send them to me, and I'll wait a
You want
couple
the
of
typos
days.
too? There's a couple,
Yeah.
the second line sponsor.
Sponsor.
Was the
It's
9-month
spelled
mark
wrong,
suggested
is
by
it
the commissioners?
Should be OR, OR.
Yeah. I mean, it was in
Yeah,
his earlier draft.
Gotcha.
It makes sense.
it
Yeah.
does, yeah. Publicity, everything else. And resourcing.
We said we're gonna do it, 27, we'll do it in the first one, previous year.
I don't have any other feedback.
So then with those additions and any typographical corrections, are we ready to approve, to pass this on?
Yeah.
Okay. so I need a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second, great, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So then, Kevin, if you make some
Margaret
decisions.
vote.
Oh, Margaret, yeah. Margaret? She go, she's still there.
She's on here, so it's just mute.
Margaret, can you unmute and vote?
I mean, you have a majority, so.
Okay.
If anybody sees any other typos, just tell me or send them to me.
And then you send it to Laura and she puts it in their system. So, yeah. CC us all, so we have the
Yeah.
final. Okay. Then, here's our recommendation. Some of these things, we can just leave it as it is, or if we wanted to make any changes now that we have a policy that this recommendation is coming from. Some of the events have been sort of taken out because, like Hispanic Heritage Month, we're not doing that at the library, so it's,
Right.
so,
Yeah, at least this year, right?
yeah.
So we're taking that out because we're doing it with the library.
Well, I think we should, I would just change that to partnering with the library.
Okay. You took,
We're still doing it.
you can edit this
Well, it's got
document if
this-
you want to.
Do I have it? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, you have it too.
Yeah,
Maybe it's-
So I'm just gonna change.
Great,
it to
okay, Kevin's gonna edit, thank you.
partner with library.
Okay, so the policy is saying we're going to be making these recommendations for starting 2027, not
Third quarter
third quarter
26.
26, so just to understand.
Wait, sorry, I didn't follow.
Well, it says we're gonna do that third quarter 26. We could change that to this year if we're gonna do it, if we.
I would change it. Okay. Got vote again.
I didn't follow, sorry.
So if you looked at, this is saying that recommendations have to be made
9 months.
9 months before.
2027 and
Yes.
beyond.
Event and recognition of proposals. Board may propose new events or recognitions to the Mount Lebanon commissions for 2027 and beyond.
So we're making that 2026.
Technically, it's not 9 months before summer, like 9 months
Okay.
before January, so I don't
So
I don't know.
I'm gonna make a motion to move it, to amend our previous document to say 2020, starting 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great, thanks.
Never hear any for a
So
change
Stan,
to
we're
partner with the library.
partnering with the library.
The other ones are good ones.
Yeah, I mean, there was concern about Ramadan. We can leave it in there, we can take it out. Okay, well, that's not good.
I don't know why we would do that.
Yeah. Should we leave everything else in?
I mean, this is all from previous discussion, right?
It is.
The only, under 10, it says local groups are just donating elements of a display to the municipality. You take that out now, in light of the newest.
Yeah, take it out. Yeah. Okay. So any other adjustments before resubmitting this?
So we also are there, as part of this, we are requesting funds
For this
for a
banner.
banner. I'm really hopeful about this banner.
And then change the
Fine.
date and stuff.
We have that banner again.
All right, so is there, did we just drop the low?
Voted and you're all set.
No. I think 1, 2, 3.
Or, he's still here.
He's still here, okay, good. Well, here she comes back, all
There,
right.
sorry. We're just about to go.
As long as no one makes a quorum call. we're okay.
Yeah.
My 12-year-old's home alone, sorry.
Always important to pick up middle school.
Middle school. In a
There's a
minute.
municipality is misspelled.
This one?
Yeah.
Let's see how it is.
Okay, so motion to resubmit this with those changes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And then same process, Kevin, adjust it, CC us all, send it to Laura, and she puts it in the system. Great, that's fabulous progress. All right. What's next gonna happen with those?
Well, I'm gonna send it to Phil,
Okay.
and then
yeah.
it'll go in front of the commission.
Okay.
for-
So can you let us know
Yeah,
when
sure.
when it's gonna be on
Yep.
the discussion agenda?
He's a
Yeah.
fast learner.
That's the best one, yeah, sure.
And we can watch the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, there's no comments at the discussion meeting, but our presence makes a difference, so. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Residence Academy.
On holding, we'll start scheduling right after Labor Day. And now I've learned who to call first. So the library and historical school district will be the first two people that get called.
Great. Community Service Award, article this month.
The article coming this
Yeah.
month.
It's in, nice.
Mm-hmm.
But the award isn't actually presented till
Next
year.
Next year.
Next year,
Correct.
yeah.
So next year, we'll push it out on the same deadline. We'll put it in the December issue. We will, you'll need to make your decision in February based on when we have the volunteer dinner, which is usually in April. That has to be funded by the municipality, but we were a little more lackadaisical this year because we didn't have a dinner that we had to have it done by, so.
Okay.
So I would
it needs to be
expect
done
the
by
work to be done by February, but just like last year, I'll give you the folder and all you have to do is meet and pick, so.
Okay.
I was a little disappointed, I should say, that this is just me personally venting. When we posted the story on our social media,
Yeah.
the level of
Me too.
negativity was
Oh, really?
upsetting. Yeah, we have a social media policy that does allow us to take off some comments. We've expanded that based on case law. It's not a, on the books law, it's a case law thing. And I, had to walk some lines because there were just some things on there that I felt were attacking residents that I just, it was very disappointing. So it just means there's still work to be done.
We really talked a whole lot through that group of nominees. That's disappointing.
And a lot of people didn't even live here. It's bots.
Yeah, there's a
sometimes.
lot of it's the troll kind of
You
thing.
mean attacks?
Oh,
Yeah.
tax on us.
LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody.
Well, and it shows the importance of having an active communications office that's.
Yeah,
Pays
Yeah.
attention and it's
Yes.
out there.
pays attention, right.
Well, same thing I noticed at the Pride during when Margaret and I were there, was that a lot of people that were at the event were not from Mount Lebanon.
Right, yeah,
They were
Yeah.
from Dormont and Peters and Bethel and,
I had
Yeah.
someone come in from
Places.
Ohio.
wow.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Well, the positive thing is that I received a communication from QBERG that is going to be sharing the story on their website. And they were very pleased to see the recognition for Asta, so.
There also were a lot of positive
There were a lot of
comments too.
positive.
Yeah, there were a lot of positive comments, right. If you stood on a street corner and handed out $1,000 bills, somebody'd be against it. And not to diminish this, I don't mean to, but I'm just saying there doesn't seem to be any issue where you're ever gonna get universal acceptance, which just as Laura said, points to the ongoing work.
And people feel a lot more empowered to say things
Yeah.
now than they did.
They sure do, don't they? I
6
know,
years ago,
yeah.
7 years ago.
I know, where's your editor?
Especially on a computer.
It's also to be expected that based on algorithm, that if trans is mentioned or anything
Yeah.
at all, it's gonna be elevated too, because it's going to promote that.
Yeah.
Right, welcoming.
Nothing new on that one, but welcoming week.
Yeah.
We're gonna be participating in the welcoming week
Yes.
library event. We're gonna have a table.
when is that? Do we know?
September 19th. It's their Global Beats Day, so it's in recognition of Hispanic heritage. So it's welcoming week, but in recognition of Hispanic heritage on that day. So what I was thinking about doing was, what's that saying? Flattery, Imitations of sincere sort of flattery. I was thinking about something similar to what we do with Legal Pride, have a question up there about what can Mount Lebanon do to be more welcoming, and have people
Give
put
them
their
some suggestions, sure.
suggestions on there.
Yeah.
And maybe I thought that I would, if you put a suggestion up, you can get like a lottery ticket. And we'll have like a lottery, you know how you have those double tickets, we'll have a ticket,
Right.
we'll have a drawing, and I'll buy like maybe like, I don't know, I thought maybe like a Roberto Clemente hat. I know he doesn't represent all Hispanic people, but he is Hispanic.
Sure.
And then we can draw one at some specific time, and we can give away the hat, and maybe that'll get more people to put up suggestions.
I think your point of the sticky thing worked well, because anything like what you experienced, we could immediately take it down.
Uh-huh.
And then as the
Smart.
board got chock full, which was really cool, Kevin sort of did like a qualitative data researcher, where's Emily? Like piling like the same sticky notes
Yeah.
on top, so people felt there was still space for them to come in, so, yeah.
Nice.
It was really nice.
So,
And
everybody's okay with that, that's probably.
And that's Friday, Kevin, the 19th?
I think it is, yeah.
Okay.
I thought about,
There's an immigrant rights version of
and I thought,
like.
and I wanted to bring that up, because there is an immigrant rights one, right? But I thought, should we be handing that out? I mean, we don't want to assume everybody who's got Hispanic heritage has to worry about ICE.
It's welcoming.
And so is that
Yeah.
a good thing or a bad, like, are we being?
Are we assuming that everyone at Pride is part of the LGBTQ community?
No,
No.
but it's an LGBTQ event, this is an Hispanic event. So, I understand what you're saying, so I was just gonna I wanted to throw that out for comments, to see what people thought. I mean, we have the COB brochure, which I think we should hand out again, what the COB does, but should we hand out something about that?
I think absolutely. Because for vulnerable community members to see that, just like when we wear a pride pin as individuals, not as the municipality, that shows you that these are people who are accepting and open, and it's not saying this applies to everybody, but it's saying those folks who either need it for themselves or as a good neighbor want to hold on to it and have the information to advocate with their privilege. So I say absolutely.
I was thinking that.
So who's got that?
I just found, that's from the state. I found that and I okayed it with Julie and Laura.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I can
I can go
look.
online and look for one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I just, for Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean, that's like,
Sorry.
it's like, well, I mean, this is like modified because it's like Pennsylvania, so yeah, I mean, look
Yeah.
for something that's,
That's, but, yeah, and that's from the state.
that's from the state.
Well, I don't think the state's gonna tell you what your rights are they? But there's probably some immigrant group that does.
I mean, I've seen them, so,
Yeah, okay, I'll find something.
but,
I'll
you
send
know,
it
the
around.
municipality has to prove that we're passing it out. so,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
I gotta talk to the library, they may be passing something out. so I have
They
to-
may be, yeah,
if they are or not.
I don't know.
And then, could we translate this?
Oh, into Spanish.
Yeah.
Emily said she previously
Oh, yeah,
volunteered her
oh,
husband.
she volunteered.
Yeah,
Ah,
Great.
we could ask.
Oh, nice.
yeah, because
Took
that
me a
reminds me,
minute.
I was gonna see if somebody could
Is that-
translate,
Okay,
what can Mount
Absolutely.
Lebanon do to be more welcoming into Spanish also, so I could ask Emily
yeah,
to do that too. And I could write it both ways on the board.
okay, yeah, that'd be.
Could I talk about ICE for a moment?
Mhm.
Commission has reviewed ICE policies, which are in the police policies. And basically, it reiterates when you read it, and I would encourage you all to go on the website for the police and look at the things that deal with ICE. And essentially, what it says, there are two parts to it. One, ICE does not want interference from a local police department unless they ask for it, and that we will not use any, what's the word I want? Like if someone is pulled over a traffic stop, we will not be part of reporting them as whether they are residents or not residents, or checking their residency or anything like that. And that if ICE should come into our community and request backup from the police, that would be discussed by Keith McGill, our manager, the president of the commission, and the police chief before any cooperation would be given. let's for one moment realize that cooperation is not deemed that we just are saying, sure, go ahead and arrest people from our community. It's more like things like if there was an ICE presence raiding something, do we have police on hand so that traffic can be moved around it, for example?
So since this is a Hispanic event at the library, shouldn't we have that discussion before we have the event? Would I show up at the library?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh,
I'm just
God.
saying, don't we want to have that, like Keith and Jason be ready with Plan B?
I don't know, but I'll ask Keith tomorrow. Okay?
Because
Sure.
Remember, it is advertised, well, yes, that is a very good consideration.
Yeah.
Also, I think they're advertising it as like global beats in honor, but I think they are saying in honor of Hispanic
global
Heritage
is-
Month, yeah, so, no, that is,
that
Sure.
could still be ICE
that's a
global.
good question.
I guess I was interpreting what you said in the policy as like the second part of the discussion would happen in reaction to a request.
In reaction
Okay.
to, yes.
Like
Only
in
if-
like an emergent.
Only if, yes,
Yes, okay.
if whoever ICE is comes in and says, we want the Mount Lebanon Police to do blah, 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 they're very high-level eyes on blah, blah, blah.
Gotcha,
To
yes,
make sure
okay.
that it is still
And I'm
well,
only suggesting we have a discussion before the
Yeah,
event, so
I
we
understand.
already
Okay,
know
I
what we're
was
gonna
just-
do.
I was
Yeah.
checking on the policy,
Sure.
but I understand what you're
So
saying
is
too.
that something that we should print out and hand out at the event also?
I mean, it's a police
That's a Phil
policy.
question.
I don't know, yeah. I mean,
It's public.
it is public, it's on our
Right, so
website,
the only question is,
yes.
do we want to tell people this is Mount Lebanon's policy? It doesn't sound all that great to
We
tell you.
have, we have some time, so why don't we look
Yeah.
at it?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like at a previous Pride, we handed out, municipal resolution in support of Pride. I mean,
Right.
there's ways that having, just to keep posting something like this
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
a sign of support, so.
Right.
So why don't we all look at it, we can talk about it next time.
Okay.
It may be that it's too long and too wordy to,
Or it may be just that we're handing out a
Here are your
QR
rights.
code or
Yeah.
the website.
That's a good idea. I like that, in case people want to read it. Especially since it seems like
ICE coming to
it's
the
not-
event.
it's not very definitive.
I worked in healthcare, you always planned for the worst.
No, it's a really good point. I know, I'm very appreciative. I just,
a year ago, we would have thought it would be unheard of that ICE would show up to a public event at the library, but that's
Yeah.
not the
That
case
they
anymore.
I know.
So,
I just, it makes me,
All the more reason for us to all show up, so they have to
Yes.
check all of our IDs.
Yeah.
If they're
Right.
just picking out the Hispanics
Yeah.
amongst us, we can
Right.
say, hey, what about me?
What about me?
right, sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just hard.
It is hard.
I would imagine Casa San Jose is probably a part of this, because they're such a big presence.
I think they are. I think she said something about.
And they have, like, that's who, at work, that's who we defer to, for all things related. So I would say anything we're thinking of, which should be specific to our policy, because they will bring handouts.
Yeah, and I can reach out to them too and see if they're gonna be there, what they're gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, I would just ask the library who else is.
Yeah.
Okay, MLK.
Yeah, I have to send an email. I'll do that. June went by in a blink, apologies.
Yeah, it does go by fast every year.
Laura, can you, this came up at the last minute last time, and I want to try to plan ahead. Can you remind me who I would connect to or send an email about, if somebody brings a bus? Can I ask the school to park that in the parking lot?
Yeah, it would be their communications director, so her name is Brandy, Brandi Smith.
Okay, I think I have, thank you for, if I can search. Okay. I just want to be preemptive about those types of things this year.
Well, but it would also depend on where it is, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Or just any, right, even just opening the door to be like, should we have a school bus want to come join us?
Right.
Because schools are closed, would we be able to use any of the 10 parking lots?
But for example, if you were able to have it in the public social hall at the Greek Orthodox Church, they have a parking lot there, so that it might be easier too, depending on
Sure,
where you ended up having it.
true.
And we're trying not to use the municipal building next year, or are we?
Sold out.
I was just saying, based on the size, I mean, it's certainly accessible. you know, we have restrooms and running water and all that other stuff, but, yeah, it was running pretty
It was a
quickly.
lot.
I mean, unless you have the organized projects and, you know, when people register, they pick a project, so, you know, all right, I have 15 people for this room, I have 30 people for that room, and it's all planned out that way, and then any overruns, you know, I think some of the projects got canceled because of the weather, the street cleanup, that might allow for more. So no, you are absolutely welcome to be here again, the question is what's your capacity going to be?
Yeah, and we had talked about like using sites, like multiple sites, and this being one, knowing full accessibility,
And
so.
family participation was a big deal.
It was huge.
A lot of people wanted to come because they could bring their kids, so that makes it a bigger.
Met, and I don't know so I went and met with the person, the manager of the Galleria, and asked if I could
Yeah.
they said no.
Really?
I was gonna say, do all those tables where all these people play mahjong,
Yeah.
could we use that area that day? We're gonna bring everything, we'll take everything back with us. They said no.
It's interesting.
Raise your taxes. Kelsey, there, I can remember especially Pittsburgh Food Bank, where I called them, and it was too late, too many other people had called them.
Yeah.
Is that something, do you think that's too far? I mean, I don't think it is, but I don't know if you have an opinion on that. And if
I don't know
so,
where their facility is.
it's far, it's in Duquesne.
It's in Duquesne, I volunteered.
By Kennywood, but, you know, I think there's some people that would want to do that anyway.
Food bank
I mean, I
is
think-
really happy to have you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pull the
I could
list
shim.
and then look, and then we could, I think having sites or even having an idea of sites that are farther on the sign-up sheet would be ideal to judge, but like, I mean, I really, to me, and especially like the food bank is often thought of and I want them to be included, but Shim was like, you thought of us, like that was amazing that you made that connection, so I would love to be able to find more local places like that.
Okay, because if we're gonna do the food bank, my only comment was if we think that's good, I'd call them, I'm happy to call them now, but I don't know if we think it's too far and you wanna hold off and you wanna try and get more people local, I don't know what all our thoughts are on that. But
That's
if
what
we
I'll,
call them in September, October, I think they're gonna be like, we already have.
I mean, so one of the things that they do is that they have the capacity to host really large groups, so like when a corporation does a day of service for their
Right.
employees and stuff, they can,
Right.
they have the capacity to do that.
I think that's why they sold out some big groups, we
Yeah.
went to them and said,
Yeah.
so we need any more volunteers, so if we wanna volunteer, then we should call them now, but if we think we can find enough local, so, you know, who
I will
knows?
put it on our agenda and that will be for the committee to discuss.
The other thing I will throw out there too is you had way more RSVPs than people who actually showed up because of the weather. So you wanna make sure when you're taking your RSVPs, if a bunch of people bail, you don't end up, because it is far, if the roads are icy or, you know, that you are able to guarantee, like, are there people that are gonna commit to going?
And that's a risk of the farther away if the roads are icy.
As a person who thinks of everything that can go wrong.
Right there with you.
All right, well, let us know how we can support you as you get your one
Can you get me on the books at St. Paul's? Can you get me a connection there?
back.
What about that big giant room at St. Paul?
I mean, so,
Big giant.
I mean, to be, St. Paul's would be happy to host it. I just concerned about the optics of.
No, I just meant as a site,
Yeah,
like last year,
yeah.
that was lovely,
Yeah.
yes.
We're happy to.
I like that, yeah. I'll work on my list.
I mean, Temple Emmanuel is the faith community that has the largest gathering.
That's what I
Parking.
just said, I went, they would be a good place.
Yeah, so, if they're, I don't wanna speak for them, but assuming that they don't have school that day, it probably would be something they'd be receptive to. So, once again, I can help facilitate that. So, Okay, great. Any other old business, new business?
Well, oldest newest business is that, you know, I sent this around to everybody from Pride. I mean, I'm not sure any of it is exactly actionable, but I just want to call out that the way I categorized them, there were 3 out of 4 comments about gender neutral bathrooms. So I know that's a big thing when they're redoing, well, I think we talked about it already when they're redoing the community center and whatever else we're
And
doing.
this building, I
This
believe,
building has-
already
We have
already
one.
does, so.
Yeah.
We have them here, we have them at the pool, we have them at the rec center.
That
Right.
mainly came
Yeah.
from high
School.
school, high school
Yeah.
The
students.
high school kids.
Yeah.
So if we ever need anybody to say, wow, why do we need you to do for bathrooms? You can refer to this, there were several comments. on that.
Another conversation that I got in with a few people with were about the and this may be part of the business community reaching out to them, was the businesses on Washington, if there was a sign that said it was a safe place for people to go. I don't know.
Yeah, so I had a bit of a discussion about this a while ago, and I did some research on that, and there's like an official designation for that, I forget exactly what it's called, it's an official designation, but to do that, you have to do a lot of stuff to be an official designation, you have to like train all the police, and you have to, you know, everybody has to know what they were doing, which we could do, but like it's a lot of work. Right, versus something else where you can just have people self-select and say, hey, put this, you wanna put the sticker in your window, we're LGBTQ friendly place.
Right.
That's a lot easier. And then I guess we got sidetracked and never did.
Well, I got as far as asking Eric, because he's the
Yeah.
partnership connection, right? And he kind of said, that's a nice idea if you guys wanna do it. And wasn't sure where to go from there, because like the Beverly Road shops have their own collaboration, right?
Right.
But the Uptown does not, right, because it's under the Mount Lebanon.
Partnership is the Main Street manager, but no, they don't have like a Chamber of Commerce or anything like that.
Right, and so like I sort of fell there because I think our discussion was such that like we're in support of that because the community is, but we don't have the capability of facilitating that, so why don't we bring this suggestion to the business coalitions that
Right.
do? But
The president of the partnership would probably be a better conversation than that, because
Okay.
Eric's the staff liaison like I am, so we
Right.
can't really ask
Okay.
him to do it, but
Sure.
the president, and there is a new president of the partnership.
Trying to think who it is.
Doreen.
Okay.
Okay,
So I can do an introduction there.
It seems like if we're gonna do that, I'd be happy to participate in a discussion with them. and, you
Yeah,
know,
me as
I mean,
well.
but I think we have to have some, and I'm not saying anybody said this, but I don't think we should just say, here's some stickers, you can put this in the window. Like, we'd have to say, this is what it means to be
Well, but I think
LGBTQ.
that's what we were
need to
trying to-
sign up for that.
that's what we were trying to avoid, was just share with the business districts that this is feedback we've received, that other communities do this. We want to provide you with this suggestion and back
Yeah,
off.
and
Like,
back
we
off.
have no, you know, sort of just
Smart.
offer that because we collected this data from residents.
And they're gonna be able to do more with it than we
Right,
are.
and we can.
Correct.
Yeah.
So.
And maybe they'll write back and be like, oh yeah, we're already thinking about this. But
Yeah.
do you have a contact at the Beverly Road?
It's the owners of Barefoot Stitches, so they're the kind of the leaders over there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm just thinking like if we're gonna do it for Uptown, then to do it for both at the same time and just say like, this is feedback we received. We wanna
Then we
share it
should
with you.
probably also do that. Castle Shannon.
Do they have a, okay. Well, I think it makes sense to start with places that have existing
Yeah,
structure.
and see if it flows over too.
Right,
Yeah.
Let
It's a
them be,
pilot.
let them be competitive with each other about
Love
how
it.
inclusive they are.
Yes, here for that. Sounds great.
All right, well, thank you very much. Our next meeting is August 6th.
Motion to adjourn.
Fabulous.
Second.
All in favor?
You are free, Adam.
I'm free.
Thank you.